Call the meeting to order. Do we have a motion to approve the minutes from last time?
I wish it was good.
Second.
All in favor? Opposed? Okay. Okay, President's remarks. Do I have any remarks? I don't know, it's been a hellacious few days. Are we gonna talk about all this stuff when we get into the roads and everything about what's going on? And
With Carmen?
yeah.
I think we need to talk about
Yeah.
it. Under roads, or I could do it under my report, because I'm the one that started the mess.
Yeah, why don't we do that? But I don't really think I have any other remarks that won't be covered in other stuff, so let's move on. Office update.
Okay, you know, we looked, what, a month or so ago about the credit card fees and the statement and so on, and we wondered if we were getting the best deal, and I had checked with Square,
Right.
which I think I already reported to say it was
Yeah.
more expensive.
Yeah.
As it happens, the very next day, I got a phone call from a company called Serve First Solutions, and they wanted to analyze our credit card fees, our credit card fees. And I was a little hesitant at first, but I Googled and it's legitimate. So I sent him one of the analysis statements from the bank. And he actually got back to me, he said, "You got a good deal. We can't beat this." Which really surprised me.
Wow.
Because, you know, that's quite honest.
Yeah,
Thank you
yeah,
very much.
yeah.
So, I'll say that for when we talk about the budget, the other one. I made a request for reimbursement from the special tax district for the first quarter, because I do it every quarter, if there are expenses, to request from special tax district, operations and maintenance. Not capital, not the paving, but operations and maintenance, so and so on. 21,000, a little more than 21,000, so that came in right away. Totally different note, Drum Point Day. The club is scheduled out for July 2nd. They do not want to do it on the 4th anymore because of reasons we discussed last year. It's just too many people. They tried to stick around for the 4th of July fireworks, which in the beginning was a good thing, but then they had a lot of mess on the pier, and they had issues with septic and so on. So they set on the 2nd.
What day?
That's a Saturday.
Saturday.
That's a
Oh, that's good anyhow.
That's fine. Yeah. So membership for the current fiscal year is at 86%. It's changed just a little bit, but the amount I've collected, which I think is really good, from people in arrears 3 years or more, is $23,336, which will feed into the conversation about Mr. Kerman. Right?
Yes.
Okay. So I sent him a, last year when I sent the statement, the claims document, it's an affidavit in support of a claim. I only sent it to properties that were developed because it's a little bit time consuming and I knew those were more likely to pay. You've got a house on a place, you're more likely to pay it. This year, I took more time with it and I sent to all the undeveloped properties that are in arrears as well. Well, this particular person was not happy. He owns 3 lots. He owes over $1,500. So he called me, and his main problem wasn't so, he didn't like the fact that I had included that affidavit, because I hadn't really filed a claim. He called the court. "There's no claim up here for you, what are you talking about?" So that's when he called me. And I explained why I do it. I said, I don't want to file a claim on you unless I have to. Yeah, I'm just trying to get people to pay, and so on and so forth. He was not happy with that. This man is a former lawyer. He didn't tell me what I had done, it was illegal. So I don't think it is, but we want to talk to our attorney to make sure. And Mike suggested, and I think this is probably a good idea, next year I'll do a little letter, a little form letter, you know, dear property owner, this claim has not yet been filed, and so on. So
Tell him what the claim is and then tell him that.
What's he upset about? Your
Well-
behavior?
Well,
Not
there's
not that he owes
What
anybody
she
money?
submitted was basically what looks like and probably is, an official claim
It is, it's.
But she's
easy.
getting it ready, right?
State of Maryland, it has the
Okay.
claim and
Right.
all kinds of lawyer gibberish and
Yeah.
court stuff and all that. So it looks a little more threatening than it might be, given that it hasn't
It
been
does.
filed. And so what I suggested is we just put a little cover letter on there and say, we are, you owe such and such. And if we don't get it by such and such, we're prepared to file
Right,
a claim and examples attached,
right.
something like that.
Yeah.
But I will say, he's the only one in 2 years that's,
It's interesting that, I don't know, he's the guy coming off telling you he's a lawyer.
oh, he is a lawyer, I know.
Did you
that
tell him
he
that I
is.
won't hang up on you, I promise? I'll still
No.
talk to you even though you don't deserve my
Do we want to
time.
say his name? It doesn't matter.
Sure, I mean,
It's
this
Ed,
is the board.
it's Ed Kerman, I know it would be
Ed Kerman.
Ed Kerman, as in Paul Kerman's son.
Ah.
Paul Kerman was the
For their
original
properties,
developer.
the
Yes.
big property?
But it's not, no, it's not those properties.
Okay.
That's paid by a different part of the
Okay.
family.
Okay,
This portion of the
this is
family,
undeveloped.
there are 3 undeveloped lots.
Mm-hmm.
One of which, well, there's one on Bayview Drive, paved road. There's one at the corner of Chestnut over here and Beretta, also paved. There's one on Lesson Drive, which, actually, that is on the agenda, lots with no access. So that's what he's mainly upset about, is that in his, and we're gonna talk about this later, I forgot. In his mind, he shouldn't have to pay, number one, on the lot that has no access. So that's on the agenda to discuss. But also on the 2 lots that he owns on paved streets, because the county has tightened restrictions on septic. And I spent 42 minutes on the phone with this man, and I said, well, sir, I understand, and I said, I understand with regard to the property where there's no road. I understand your frustration there. I said, but the other 2, the association has nothing to do with county restrictions and so on. I mentioned, had you brought this to me 3 years ago, before you were in arrears, I would have suggested you donate the properties to the land trust. Lots of people have done that. We went on and on talking like that. He finally told me that if Mike Snap wanted to give him a call and have an intelligent discussion.
That's seriously.
I think I'm supposed to be insulted. But
No,
anyway,
but he's a lawyer,
he's a lawyer.
so we understand, okay? I'm sorry, anybody who comes out and says, I'm a lawyer,
Well-
right there, it's like, does he not want us to help him? What's he doing? I mean, I'm sorry, that's just
Mike,
going
Mike,
back.
are you a friend or acquaintance of him? Oh, you, oh,
No,
okay.
he's not been around here for years. The last time I've seen
It's a
him,
good thing I didn't call him.
Yeah.
was,
Man, that's just,
gosh, he was at a
That's not
meeting
nice.
talking about one of the special tax district requests, maybe, probably 15 years ago.
Oh,
Wow.
Yeah, he's not like, he might come to that house on occasion, but he doesn't come in here,
yeah.
So that's how we got around to the discussion that's on the new business.
So he's saying, just because there are no access to his property, why should he have, why should he have to pay, the fees on it?
Covenant fees. He said this association has done nothing for him, or property owners like him. And again, with respect to that lot, no.
No, but
he's
he
right,
can go
we
use
cannot
the
build a
beach.
road.
Is it inland then? Is it
It's
inland from
inland,
the road?
yeah, it's inland. It's probably 3 lots, didn't we figure? Where
It's
is it?
over on that side of
Oh, that's right.
Beretta, where Lesson goes across and then it stops and then it starts up again over towards
River.
Rosby Hall. And there's
Yeah.
a section in there that's got a right of way but no road.
Correct.
And that's where his lot is.
You can sell it, I mean, if that's not, you should get rid of it.
But isn't there
Why
some
did you buy it in the first
requirement?
place, you know?
But isn't there
Yeah.
some requirement that we have to provide right away? or
That's
Well,
why,
access?
no,
A road,
Access.
a road is
Well,
different.
we
than
can
a
talk,
road.
let's talk about it now while we're on it.
Yeah.
Does that come-
I'd love to know what kind of
So-
law he is too.
My initial reaction was kind of like, well, he's got a point. If we don't have a road there, the covenants say you pay fees for, among other things, roads. Okay? So if there's no road, why should he pay?
But there's roads for the other 2 properties, right?
Yeah.
Yes, that's not an argument, I don't think. So then, I don't know, Gary and I were talking off, different subjects, but I happened to mention trials and tribulations at Drum Point and mentioned this, and his immediate response was, No, he has to pay. You know, it's not exempted by our covenants or anything. So then I started digging more. And with the issue of roads, okay, what Gary basically said was, okay, well, there's a right of way, so he has access to that lot, you know. We might have to clear it. Well, we have to do more than that. But we found this, there's an agreement between us and the county dated 1994. It spells out all the agreements about road construction. It's all in here. But, you know, it talks about, you know, roads being, if we build new roads, they have to be to county standards and all this kind of stuff. But the interesting paragraph is, this is talking about building permits. And basically what it says is, you know, if there's already a road there, we just have to make sure it's serviceable and for construction and everything. If there's no road there, it says they will only issue building permits for new residents on roads requiring improvements after the applicant has received approval of the permit package from DPPOA. So that says they have to apply through us to get a permit. And then at issuance of the building permit for a new residence to be serviced by a new roadway, a serviceable roadway, 12 feet, you know, et cetera, will be required to service the property during construction of the residence. As a condition of issuance of a use and occupancy permit for the residence by the county, the new roadway shall be brought up to the county standard typical section, including the paving requirements, by DPPOA.
So we have to bring it up to the.
That basically says if he wants to build on that, we don't have to do anything.
If he wants
Right
to.
now.
If he wants to build, then we have to build.
If he wants to build, then we have to provide a serviceable road to the property. And so to me, that says if we have that requirement, he has to pay his
That's
share.
right.
He has to pay his fee.
Well, but only if he wants to build on it, right?
No, but he has to pay his fees.
He has to pay his fees.
And then if he goes, hey, by the way, you know, I've decided I'm gonna build, I'm talking to an architect, I'm gonna go for a permit,
So
we have to put in a
he
road.
has to pay his fees regardless.
Yeah,
is what you're
yeah.
saying.
Right.
Okay, got it. Okay.
And if he decides to build, then we have to build a road.
Right.
And
That's-
that
Now,
would be 12
Rhea
feet.
talked to him at length about, well, maybe, you know, why don't you consider donating? If you're not gonna use it, and if you're not gonna build on it, and if you're fussing about the fees, donate it to the land trust if you want to, you know, so, I don't know, he hadn't got back to us on that.
Well, no, but I recall you asked me to draft a letter, which I did, but then we held back, we haven't mailed it yet.
Right.
Because we were gonna go a different direction until you came across the road agreement.
Right,
So I'll go back and update the letter to say, sir, if you wish to develop this property, our road agreement requires that we.
well, I wouldn't even say that.
Yeah, no,
Yeah, we don't go there.
Okay,
if
okay.
he applies for a building permit, then
Then
we'll
we can,
require.
but
Do we have to get into that with him though?
So just to-
I'd
so
stay
just-
away from that.
Stay away from-
I'd stay
okay,
away from
okay.
that and just tell him that there is no exemption on the fees,
Yeah.
Okay,
period. I mean, it's covered in,
okay,
Um,
that makes sense.
Does that not need a perk?
Well, we don't know,
We
we
don't
have no
know.
idea.
the only exemption on
That's
the
something
fees,
to find out.
yeah, the only break on the fees is on the MA part, where if it's an undeveloped lot, they pay less.
Right,
Now, he could argue whether that's right or wrong, but if, you know, the membership would have to bring this
right.
up for,
Well, and it would be
Discussion
a
and
covenant
amendment.
issue.
yeah, it would be a covenant issue.
And we're not sure now, but in the past, it's always been like basically impossible to change the covenants. And I know that may change depending on what the new attorney has told us. But in the past, it's always just been covenants, forget
Yeah,
that.
forget that.
You know, it's not a bylaws issue, it's a covenant issue.
I wanna shake hands with God.
Yeah, exactly. So, okay, I'll redraft the letter and send it to you. And I didn't want to go down the road of saying, okay, you don't have to pay the fees, because there've been a lot of people who donated their property. And, you know,
Yeah.
instead of paying it year after year, which is all those pink or orange stickers, those are land trust now.
Wow.
When I started, there were 16 properties on the trust.
I never realized
I think
that.
you
Tony, that's your house.
Yeah.
I've got some wonderful
Hey, that was
raccoons
pretty
in
nice
the
of you.
basement.
That's why the grass
Yeah,
is.
I got raccoons in the basement, some deer living right in the living room.
Good, good, good.
So I'll go ahead and redraft that letter.
Okay. But is there any other discussion about that, anybody opposed to that?
Is there anyone else that's been questioning that? The reason I'm asking is, do we need to send all of these properties that haven't paid, that are like his, should they know that they are responsible for these fees?
Well, they get a bill every year. If you
They
get
get
a
a
bill,
bill.
doesn't that mean you're
Yeah,
responsible?
But they don't pay them, so maybe they think they
Well,
have to pay.
that's why I want to continue to be able to do the claims stuff.
Well, I think your idea of putting a cover letter on and
Yeah,
explaining things.
To explain a little further, yeah.
That would do it.
And Maggie, these ones that are undeveloped properties, they've owned in here for years and years and years and years. And they know very well they owe these fees, a lot of them. Some of them are, well, my great-grandmother bought it in '62, and I, you know,
I don't even know
inherited
where
it,
it
and I don't
is.
even know where it is, where's from, you know, there's that.
So they inherited it and they don't even.
Exactly, and I even said to him, you know, 99.5% of the people who have come in and paid as a result of this claims document, they've had a sheepish look on their face and apologized for not paying, and then they pay.
So what is the total amount of money that is owed us in this situation from all the properties, the
Oh,
undeveloped properties?
We'd have to look, I mean, it's on the balance sheet, you could look at the, under
26,000?
allowance for doubtful accounts on the balance sheet, under other assets toward the bottom, 59,000 are, those are in the uncollectible column. Those are the ones, mail's always been returned. People live in Puerto Rico now, there's one in Amman, Jordan, you know, I'll never collect, but only, those are all undeveloped. I would never put a developed lot on the uncollectible column. And we talked about this a while ago, should we just like strike those right off, which I'd love to do.
Are they
But we're not
increasing
doing that.
every year?
They increase every year.
Can you suggest to some, oh, you're saying you don't even have addresses for some of these places?
I know, I get mail, I always get mail back. That's
But the one like in Amman, Jordan, do you know how to get, so you don't even know how to get, you don't have
No,
to.
I've got an address, but it doesn't, you know,
They don't.
they never respond, yeah.
So, am I just quickly reading this, okay, mandatory assessments owed 26,000, total AR, 120 something, what is that under? Covenant fees?
Yeah, the covenant fees are above.
So this is isn't the answer to the question, the 128 is what's owed, but then you got about half of it that you really feel is never gonna come in?
Correct, yes, that's right, which is why I would have liked it if you guys would have struck them off the sheet completely, because then I could have reduced my AR by that amount, and it would look really good. But there have been a couple that we actually did collect on, so,
And,
Yeah, you can't, because it's a living
yeah,
thing.
and the truth is if they ever try to sell these properties, we will collect our money.
hopefully, yeah, exactly
I
right.
mean, you know,
And I
both of
talked
those are
with,
very wishful
the
thinking.
finance person that I, you know, interact with, Robin at the county, about it, and I said, well, you know, because the county has past due property taxes. She said they just stay on the books, it just goes up every single year, the uncollectibles, it's just, that's what it does, so, okay.
At least ours isn't in the manuals, you know?
Not yet, someday,
No.
in a far
I'm not
distant
living that
future.
long.
No, I don't think I am here. And that's basically it.
Anything else on office?
No.
Nope. Moving on to roads,
All right,
AKA Sal, right?
Sal and
Hey,
Chris.
and Chris,
Okay,
yeah.
yes, I go by variety.
Can I see your identification?
No. I met with Doug McKenzie. Anybody remember Total Asphalt and the rejuvenation
Oh, yeah.
a number of years ago? So I met with him on another community matter, for another community. And he's gonna give them a price and whatever, but because he knows that we've done rejuvenation in the past, he wants to talk to us about that. And we are, like, I think 2/3 of the way through our mile every year of repaving. And he's concerned that we'll wait too long and the cracks will begin and, the rejuvenation, helps extend the life of the asphalt.
There's our
It's not
sidewalks too small,
sealing.
he's saying.
Yeah, it's not a sealing, it's not a sealant, it's an actual compound that sinks into the pavement and actually rejuvenates. Remember, Amy Rispin she was an EPA chemist, so she knew about these things, and she created this paper about exactly what the chemical reaction is. So Jeff McDonald was in favor of our doing it again someday, but he didn't really give us a date certain that ought to happen. So I don't know if you want me to have him come in, and he comes down from York, Pennsylvania, and he's willing to do that. Do you want to have this like on the back burner, something to consider?
Well, why doesn't he send us something in writing first that we can read, and then if we have questions, then we can ask him to come in?
He would do that.
Yeah, I think that's,
Especially the price.
yeah.
Well, he can't price it
This is
to.
very expensive treatment.
It is,
And we went through this when I first joined the board
Yeah.
years ago.
Yeah, I remember that.
And we decided that it was.
well, because our roads were beginning to, according to Gary, having talked to Doug says that Gary told him that, yeah, we want to do it again, but that right now, we have a lot of roads that need more than that. So we need to get caught up on our repaving.
Well, I guess I don't understand, if we're repaving, why is rejuvenation better than that?
That's something that Jeff would have to answer, and or Chris.
I'm
Might
not
go
sure.
into the crevices more.
Yeah, I'm not sure it's better.
It extends the life until you have to have
It's
it
very
painted
expensive,
again.
so, you know,
So what's the cost trade-off, I guess that's.
I think
Yeah.
it goes around 60 or 70,000, I'd have to look back on the books.
But over the
60 or
long haul,
70.
is it cost effective over the long haul?
Well-
I don't know.
I think it's more than half the cost of new paving. It's like super.
Well, maybe even now, but because asphalt prices have gone up, so I don't know. I think that it's a parking lot that's being done in this other community. And I think he's charging them, or he's proposed 11,000. But it's just a parking lot, which does not at all equate to 15 miles,
No.
30 lane miles.
Well, you gotta be able to give us,
Some
Yeah.
idea.
an overview of what it does and
Okay.
why it's beneficial,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
Tell us
there ought to
why.
be some kind of a pricing metric that he could provide.
He could do that probably, like so much per.
Let him know people are hesitant, he better come up with a good sales pitch.
Yeah.
Something
He's
to
a pretty good
justify his
salesman.
And
He'll
it's
talk
supposed
your
to
ear
extend
off.
the life of the paving,
It extends
how
it.
much, and then we could do a cost
I
trade-off.
think he would say 3 to 5 years or 4 to 5 years extension. I don't remember it. I'd have to look and see. But okay, I'll ask him if he'll do that.
Are we getting a tornado or something? Is the tornado one?
Yeah.
Yours going off too? Yeah, mine's going off.
Mine's on silent
I
right now
turned
because
mine-
there's a meeting here tonight.
Yeah.
Yes.
I turned mine off.
Oh, that's another
Call
song.
me.
There's another
Is
line.
it anything you need to know about? Is it weather or something?
Valve deflection sometimes.
Sometimes, I mean, I've heard,
Sometimes
sometimes
you
you're.
get amber alerts and things
Oh,
like
yeah,
that.
that too, yeah.
I don't see
exactly.
any, alert.
Maybe you all got invited to a party, the rest of us didn't.
Maybe that's what
So
it
we'll just continue on. Jack now saying, damn, it's my wife and she didn't invite me either.
Okay, the well rings were being done today. I don't know if they are finished, but when I came in at 11:30, Grover's Landscape, big truck was
So
on its
they-
way out, and I had an email
Oh,
from
really?
Sharon, the office person, to say, hey, they're being done
This
today.
is the one at the end of,
Yeah,
here?
sort of, yeah, okay, so.
I'm
Took a while,
surprised that today wasn't a real low tide. He
I
would have had a lot better opportunities.
don't know.
We'll see.
The boat ramp, I called John Wood today. Whoever was here for the finance meeting a week ago, Monday, knows that there was a little issue at the end of the boat ramp. Was it your friend that got caught at the end of it? Neighbor. And they got themselves out of it, but apparently at low tide, John came to look at it again today at low tide. And he's going to have a truck brought in that will be able to direct stones, little ones, into the exact spot. He says just sort of washed out after the ramp. The ramp is not eroding. It's
No,
not
the
like
ramp,
the
ramp
asphalt's
looked
not
okay,
going
it's
to shoot
just
away.
at the end of it drops off
Right.
Oh,
like that.
Oh,
Yeah.
right.
So he's going to have, he said hopefully, he's getting a price together today, and will get it to us tomorrow,
Yeah.
and hopefully can get his person there within 2 weeks. He said he'll do it as soon as he can. He knows people are trying to get in the ramp. And we had that sign, we had Joe Bateman put a sign up last week,
Right.
and I had a call today from somebody who had gone down there, just bought a boat, and he didn't want to chance it because he's not experienced. I said, oh, wise man.
So what does the sign say? Or anything like
It,
that?
what you
It
had?
says caution, steep drop off at the end of the ramp.
Yeah.
Basically, for most of the boats that go in and out of there are small. You know, they're usually like 17 to 20 footers. They're on a single axle trailer, or a lot of jet skis that are going in and out of there. So they don't have a problem. You know, they can back in up to the end of the ramp and have enough water to launch and, you know, get. Well, this neighbor had a big pontoon boat on a big double axle trailer. And in order to get it far enough in, you know, to float the boat,
He's gotta put
he
the
dropped
trailer
off the end of it.
Oh.
So it's really the bigger trailers that are liable to have a problem.
Okay.
Well, that could be real big, yeah, I see, you fall in and just.
Well, it dropped
Your
off.
trailers are that big, fall.
Dropped off and you couldn't,
How do you get it out? You know, your
Yeah.
car, your whatever you're
Well,
trying.
we all have to get together and go pull.
Didn't his wife get in the water and like?
Man, that's scary. I must just pull your car in with it.
we found a couple boards and we wedged one in from the dock side and I held it down. His wife waits out up to here in that cold water with another one. She wedges it under the other wheel.
Yeah.
And then it was just enough to give him a boost to get up out
But you
of it.
really did wish. we
Because he
were
had
all
a
there,
big four-wheel drive dually
Oh, that's good.
pickup truck.
That's
He like
He had
he
plenty of
pulled the
power.
wrong way.
Yeah,
he
if
was
he had a
getting
little less power, he'd probably still be
I
there.
was gonna say, yeah.
Well, I was afraid we were gonna have to get a crane or something there to lift it off.
We would have had to pay for it.
Well,
That would be, that would be an
We'll talk
interesting
about
way.
that.
No, we'd get out there in our shorts and stuff.
Where's
My,
the for yourself?
my first initial reaction would be, we don't pay for that.
Yeah.
Okay, now, I also happily got a list from Chris Franklin of, I forwarded it to Mike and Sal, of the 15 different stormwater management sites that need some sort of addressing. And out of the 15 that are on here, a couple he needs to go back and revisit. But a couple of them are for the property owner to address. But out of the 15 on here, 11 are for us to address. So I responded yesterday to him and asked, thanked him, because it's been a long time coming, and asked him if he could put a scope of work together now. And when he does that, then we can do a request for proposals. So,
I guess I would like to
you want to meet with him?
talk to him or something, just
Yeah.
get a better idea on why he thinks these are all our responsibility. I mean, some of them are fairly obvious, but,
Right.
Yeah, definitely.
Well,
He's got to explain and justify to y'all to put
Well, I
out the money.
think,
Yeah, if you can't justify it.
well, yeah, absolutely. It would have been too
Of
late.
course, I have no clue
for
what
today.
what is that about?
It's just things like, water stands, floods into the yard, and some of those is our responsibility and some are not.
Like, these are 15
Depends.
specifics, they're not a
15
general.
specific,
Okay,
no.
okay,
There's-
Specific locations.
issues.
yeah, there's
Okay.
specific locations, and he does a pretty good job of describing it. I'm just,
Maybe
Okay.
Sal also could look at it and help decide. What's his name? Or I could
Oh,
ask
yeah.
Chris to come to a meeting in June.
well, that would be,
He'll come, he just doesn't ordinarily, he
No, I
works
know.
40 hours a week. He
Yeah.
would. Shall I ask him if he can come to the June meeting and actually discuss some of this, or do you want to meet with him separately, with you and Sal?
I don't care. Do you guys want to hear what he has to say?
I think we're better off in a small group than a big general.
Everybody watching them. Yeah.
Yeah.
He might do better.
So he doesn't, he could come talk to, come into the office, and I guess the two of you.
We
all.
can meet here in the office, and
Yeah.
Well-
anybody.
And
wants to
anyone
come.
else who wants to come
Okay.
along. for
And I
anything
think
else.
also Sal, because, he's our roads chairperson,
Yeah,
for
with Sal, too.
volunteer
Right.
chairperson,
A
what have
lot
you.
of these,
And-
road issues, really.
Oh, they're all road issues, stormwater management along the rights of way, so.
So,
And I definitely want somebody there, because for me to try to translate what he tells me,
Yeah.
like I'm not a roads
Yeah.
person,
Yeah,
I'll get this
yeah.
wrong, you know, or whatever.
Yeah.
So, okay, I'll ask if he can, are you in town for the next period of time? Mr. World Travel?
Well, the rest of this month,
Okay.
and, first few days in June, reminds me, what's June look like? Okay. Yeah, I'll be here for the, assuming we have the meeting on the 2nd of June, I'll be here.
The second of June?
And
Like
anyway,
next board meeting, but maybe you would need him
I
before
don't think
then.
that's a Tuesday.
that is,
Oh, is it?
I think, well.
I don't think so. No,
Maybe
I don't
not,
think so.
Thursday?
I thought June seventh was the first Tuesday in June, is that the
Okay,
first?
well, then
I
we
think
have-
it is, I think you're right.
Yeah.
All right, well,
June
then we have
7th
to
is
talk
the
about
first
when we
Tuesday.
have the meeting.
Rain Man over
But I'll see
there.
if he can't meet earlier than that, just.
Yeah, I don't
Yeah, that'd be
know.
fine.
Okay. And that's it, really, for the roads, I think.
Is he reading the details of the party that we didn't invite him to?
That's what I'm hoping.
That's what I think's going on.
So we got finance?
Well, thanks to everybody who helped with the coming year's budget. And we finished that off.
I sent this out, did anybody bring it?
I didn't bring it. I
Should
didn't bring it.
I make copies, you guys want one?
Is that it?
I could use a copy. Copy?
Yeah, totally. Anybody else?
Yeah, I'll do.
Yeah, I'd like to have it.
So the game plan, I guess, is that the board will have to review the budget that the finance committee came up with, and approve it, and then it will go through membership. The June meeting. So, good news is we got it done on time, we should be able to get everything, and no fiscal lapses. This went pretty smoothly, I don't think there's any outstanding questions.
We just have to have an executive meeting after this meeting, fill in one blank, right?
And that's it. On the road, so.
This is, so we got May, June, Then we'll come to trouble.
What was the item that you had to give your?
Manager's salary.
We were also gonna talk about Joe Bates. I only made whoever said it.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah, one there.
I have one.
Yeah, I didn't bring my glasses, so that's why.
Yeah. That's fine.
Oh, you didn't print it either? Sorry,
No,
I should have made here. Here it is.
we can share.
I should have made copies.
Yeah. I printed it off.
Yeah, when that lawyer gets done too, you are in a cell together, she wasn't used to sharing.
Are we really?
Yeah, you two get used to sharing things, yeah.
You mean Mike and I, or?
Yeah, you and Mike, yeah.
Well, that'd be okay. I'm
Yeah,
good.
you and Mike.
How about you make a permit?
Oh, no, we wouldn't do that to you, we wouldn't do that to you.
Appreciate it.
Yeah.
What do we do? We can back up.
Okay.
Fill down, and you can fill in the payroll tax stuff.
Yeah, it's always based on,
That's just
yeah.
percentage. Where's Bateman?
he's not on Joe Bateman.
Yeah.
Recall you suggested a percent.
Oh, right, whether.
A 10% increase for Joe.
Right.
So I increased all of his line items, which are different ones, bush hogging, labor, and so on.
Okay, so
By
that's already,
10%.
that's already in here.
Yeah,
Yes,
that's already
That's
done.
already in this item.
yeah,
We won't really see it, it's just there.
right. The other thing, you asked me that day to check out paychecks for payroll processing, and I did, and the quote came just yesterday, right, I don't know, came the other day. And it's interesting, they charge, all told, $48.13 a month. And that is, it's actually $41.32 per pay period or per month. Plus there's a $75 yearly fee, so divided by 12, add that, so it comes out to a total of $48.13. What we pay now to our accountant is $73.35
A month.
a month. But, and both include filing payroll documents with the IRS and state and so on.
Right.
But I did notice on his email that it says, this discount, this charge of $41.32, this discount will last for a full 12 months.
So when that's not going up.
Well, so I asked him,
Sure, yeah.
what would it be if we can't renegotiate our discount? He says usually they'll just renegotiate it. But, just for your information, it's $103 a month if they won't renegotiate it with me.
Oh.
Which,
This is the bookkeeper or somebody's charging to write you and Joe checks?
just me, just me.
This is not rocket science, I mean, the problem is that somebody has to send in we have to do the
The
quarterlies
941s
and
and
things
all.
like that?
Yeah. Yeah, and they do that, that's included in that. And they have never, I think maybe 10 years ago, it was $71.25 that they charged us, now it's $73.35, it's not significant. They've been terribly reliable,
Oh, that's
Well-
worth a lot.
That's worth something,
Uh-huh.
because
We'd have to renegotiate it every year.
Yeah,
I'm currently fighting after I told you to check on it,
Yeah.
I've been fighting a battle with them,
Oh,
so,
well, for like a renegotiated,
no,
Right.
no, for support.
This is Yakko?
Hmm?
That's Yakko?
No, the pay, well, yeah, but
That's what it,
the
yeah.
paychecks,
Yeah.
yeah.
paychecks people. So maybe we just ought to stay with what we got, if we're happy with it.
I think we should,
Yeah.
that would be mine.
We've done our due diligence and
Yeah.
Yeah.
The information systems, you said you were gonna speak with Doug, has that
I
changed?
did, thank you, I knew there was one more thing. Doug was going to come in last week and talk to me about my database, and then he got tied up with this, that, and everything. So, but we talked on the phone for quite a bit, and he is going to come in. Doug, yeah, Donovan. And he thinks, he wants to look at my database to see if he can tweak it a little bit here and there. I'm in the process, I was doing it before the meeting. I've got notes, but he wants me to email him, and my little scribbly notes probably aren't gonna tell him much, so I need to actually make those into complete sentences. But he's done some research and found some software that might benefit us to use, but he doesn't know the cost just yet, so.
So we should keep it as what we have planned, and then hopefully
Yeah.
it'll change.
Yes, I
Okay.
think you need to budget something. I mean, it's not urgent, it doesn't have to be done. I can work around that database, because I kind of know the ins and outs of it. But that was my concern, is that in years to come, if I ever get get to retire.
No, no, I,
You
no,
know,
no, I
yeah.
I have no problem with that.
Disapprove.
You know,
Yeah, well, that's not, yeah, retiring's not happening.
yeah.
Exactly right.
Yeah.
But that, so it's not like it has to be in this year's budget?
But I think it's a good thing to have it.
Okay.
Mhm.
Okay.
Okay.
So, I don't know how that will, you need to make a motion to approve the budget, but I don't know how you can do that one.
Well, we can approve it in executive
Okay.
session.
All right, don't forget the end.
Who's next?
Well, oh, it's Jack. No, okay. You done?
That's it.
Yeah, it's already
Yeah,
got that.
actually.
I have nothing really except that probably sometime in June, I'll walk around and do some, I'll take some photos of the areas where we've had Phragmites and see if anything's growing again and send them to Mark. Because it may be that we won't have to treat this year,
Well, that,
you know,
Yeah.
depends, I guess it, like, my question would be down at Lake Terrace and see what's going on there. Jenny, anything?
No. I just wanted to comment something about, you probably have already heard about it, but there's an avian flu.
Yes, yeah.
That's here, that's killing birds.
Mhm.
And they also say that if you have chickens, you need to keep them inside.
Oh, God.
But also
I
that
put them in
you
the
can
living
actually,
room with the deer.
but a lot of songbirds are dying,
Yeah.
but shorebirds can have it too. They're a little bit more hardy, but they can spread it. But it's spreading all across the United States.
I know last year, my kids took their bird feeders down.
They're saying
And
that right
so
now
that's
you
already-
should, yeah,
Take them down?
Yeah,
take
there
your
was an issue
bird
last
baths, bird
Yeah.
feeders, any place where birds congregate, because that brings birds from different places
Right.
together.
Oh.
But yeah, that's kind of sad news,
Very
because
sad.
I like,
Yeah, I keep
watching
out there
birds.
for little guys.
but there's even
I
some
just
raptor
love
centers in
birds.
Virginia
Yeah,
that
they
are
just
having
go out
their
there,
raptor
little
shows,
woodpeckers
because
and
apparently you can transfer things on your shoes,
Oh, really?
like from feces and saliva.
Oh, my gosh.
And so there are some raptor centers that have canceled their
Oh,
shows
wow.
and things because they don't want to spread anything.
Okay. Any other good news?
Well, completely unrelated to bad news, I read an article that the zoo, National Zoo, a fox got in and killed 25 flamingos.
Oh,
25 flamingos.
Oh my gosh.
That's those PETA people, we gotta have all those foxes
I guess
killed.
they didn't want
Jackets
my
and-
outfit.
Yeah.
did they?
This is what's going on now.
You can look it up, but I mean, there's an article on
That big.
the National Wildlife,
There was a single
the
fox.
regular news, NBC.
It breached the enclosure somehow.
Right.
That's all.
And they'll show you where in the United States it's
I mean,
happening.
can you
Is
just
it happening
see-
here? Then you
Yeah,
see it.
yeah.
It's not funny. Yeah,
dying
something,
last
right,
year.
well, last year there was something, but they thought it had something to do with the cicadas,
They couldn't
and,
figure it out, could they?
right, but this is different, yes, and apparently, the other question is, can it be transferred to
Yeah,
people?
yeah.
And it has happened one time,
Yeah.
but it was somebody who was in the
Oh.
Philippines or somewhere, and she worked with ducks every day,
Yeah.
but she did get sick, and it's like the H1N8
Yeah.
or something flu,
Mhm.
and she did get it,
Asian
but
bird
it's
flu.
very, very unlikely that you'll get it.
Hmm.
Yeah.
There's nothing that we,
Little duck ones right outside my front door.
I didn't ask them to move.
It'd be nice
Just
of
don't, you know, have a party, yeah, if, like, don't let, have your friends come over.
Invite a cat over.
Or a fox.
yeah,
Yeah.
well, that's it.
But then I find out the foxes all have rabies.
Yeah,
Yeah, there you go.
we'll send them over to your place in your basement.
Oh, basement, yeah.
In fact, with the raccoons.
I've got room in the basement.
Okay, anything else on environment? Any other good news? Safety, Maggie,
Uh,
updates?
No, this is spring and real estate has just blown up, so I've been balancing all kinds of plates and, I just haven't had time to breathe here the last couple of weeks, which is a good thing. But, I intend hopefully by the end of this month to get it ready to go and, start rolling with things. And I have checked into the to-go bags, so we'll need to talk about those whenever we get together.
Okay.
And by the way, I'm not sick. This is, I'm leaving for Colorado day after tomorrow, so this is prevention for mama. Yeah.
Grandbaby.
Grandbaby
coming,
mama,
right?
yeah. As Billy calls her, Mama Zilla. Apparently her hormones have gone crazy and she's like stressed out.
She's expensive.
So it's baby shower this weekend.
Oh,
Yeah.
nice, good, good, have fun.
We'll have a safe trip.
Yeah,
Thank
me
you.
too.
Okay, we're welcoming.
Yes. Jenna and Asha assembled 4 more buckets last week, leaves me with 6. And we're, low on buckets, we have empty buckets, we have 3 left. So I drafted a letter, which I gave it to you, didn't I? Yeah, for Cindy to take to Ace and ask for
Oh.
a handout.
Yeah, they'll do that, right?
Oh, yeah, they've been doing that for a couple of years now.
How many do we need a year? Any idea how many?
I mean, I
Good luck.
I think the last letter that I brought up, we had given 20 out.
It's more than you think, because you see
Yeah.
these stack of buckets and you think, oh, are we gonna go through all those? And we do,
Oh,
so
yeah.
it's more
Yeah.
than you think.
And not every newcomer gets one, because if I send a letter out, and they don't ever show up
Right.
to get one, or if they show up, happen to a year and a half later, I
Yeah.
probably don't give them a bucket.
And some won't even return the bucket.
One guy
Oh,
returned
really?
it, hit empty,
You
empty
need it.
bucket.
Oh, you don't need it.
You guys need to
Yeah, we emptied it.
Well, I had to put gumballs in it for
That's
that.
really nice.
Yeah, this is for a
Yeah,
bucket.
well,
Oh,
yeah, any of those things.
I like that, no welcome up for you. Welcome bucket Nazi, no welcome up.
Bucket.
Yeah,
If I have one back there and, I don't have 10 letters out there waiting for people to come in,
Yeah.
then it's a little different, but if I've sent out 10 letters and there's only 3 buckets sitting there,
Oh.
you snooze, you'll lose. And that's it.
Okay, the only thing on planning committee is that, the coastal folks down in Virginia, we got them turned back on to get going on the beach project. And they submitted a big package to go to the, goes to MDE and DNRO, or DNR and Corps of Engineers. It's the whole joint permit application process, which is, huge. So that started.
Roughly, I'm missing this one, I'm sorry, Mike. What are we talking about?
Well, it's,
The beach erosion.
the beach
Oh,
erosion.
the beach
project.
erosion,
Beach.
okay, okay,
Community beach.
okay. So
Has
you're
anybody
gonna
been down there
get-
lately?
Okay.
Joe was down there today cleaning up, as much as he could. I guess I should tell him about that. Because there was some glass and stuff around the surround, and somebody pulled in a picnic table, old one, and put it inside the porta potty surround, so he's working on getting that all cleaned up.
And there was a bench that was on
He
one of
fixed
the,
that.
fixed it, yeah, that was on top of the picnic table. Yeah, it looked a little messy last time I was there.
Were they able to get anything dug out on those tables?
That's what he's going to use the
The Bobcat?
Bobcat for.
Okay.
Mike said to go ahead and let him rent a Bobcat to clear off the sand away from the tables. It's just too much for him to do.
Yeah.
Those tables are buried.
Yeah.
They are.
And he also, I think, will move a little bit of the sand out from behind the porta potty so that when Brothers Johnston brings in the porta potty. They brought it last week, but they didn't bring it on a truck that would go through sand. They just were super busy. So they brought it and set it down where they could. But then when they change it out, they'll put it where it belongs. But I'm not real certain what their access is with all that sand.
Yeah.
So Joe will take care of that. And I ordered a drag mat, is that what it's called? A drag mat, he wanted me to order, and Mike approved, that he'll put on behind the door and be able to groom the beach. And pull up those little sticker weeds that are in there.
Yeah, good, that's good.
So hopefully, if we can keep it looking nicer,
Yeah.
people will appreciate it.
Have we heard had any word on the grant yet? On the grant, have we heard anything about the grant yet? Nothing.
I don't expect to hear anything until
June.
probably midsummer.
2 days after the project is done.
Probably. really get rid of this. So this DNR package that was submitted, that's for permit? Or not?
Oh, that's for permits, yeah.
Okay.
When you do something like this, it's more than just the normal county permit. You gotta go to the state and the Corps of Engineers and MDE,
Right,
and,
okay.
so it's, they call it a joint permit application that goes to all these agencies, and it's, you know, bureaucratic stuff and stuff like that.
And I'm still, okay, we're gonna pull tables over to clean the beach. What is it we need permission to do though?
Well, we're putting a spur, a rock,
Oh,
like, sort of like a jetty, but it's gonna
okay.
be a little more parallel to the beach. So it's gonna come
Okay,
from
that's
the edge of our property at a
Okay.
fairly shallow angle out.
I do remember y'all talking about this now. Thank you.
Help
Yeah.
help hold that sand in on our beach. And
Thanks, Mike. Yeah, thank you.
I also have a call into, Michelle, Board's Marine,
Oh, yeah,
because they put in for a permit for
right.
repair the erosion on the causeway, down
Right.
over the winter with the big storm, and she hasn't said they've gotten it yet, so.
There was-
One other thing, is Joe doing the cameras now?
Well, he needs, little Joe needs you to show him how to set them and so on. And Joe, big Joe, I don't know how to differentiate.
Old
Big
Joe.
Joe and little Joe.
Old Joe, young Joe.
I didn't know there was a little Joe.
There is a little Joe,
Really?
also known as Joe Junior, or just Joe,
I don't think I've read it.
different Joe.
Oh.
Anyway,
So all good with him?
our Joe was going to get with you and his Joe to get you guys together to talk about
All right.
that.
What are you talking about putting up cameras to spy on the girls on the beach or?
Well, we've got cameras up right now, so we have to change the chips and the batteries, the memory chips.
Well, at the the beach thing?
Community beach.
Yeah.
Oh, that's interesting. Why do we have to do that? Why are we doing
There have been some
It's
security.
a-
Yeah.
Because
There's some incidents down there.
There were some incidents down there, there was one.
that? So then we can have the, here's what happened and, oh, that's kind of neat. I mean,
So far, I don't know that we've ever really gotten, there's been a couple of times that the police department, the sheriff's office has asked if we got any, good pictures, and we've gone through them and we have not. Like a good license plate number, or,
Mhm.
when you were there and you helped, that boat had washed
Yeah.
up,
The missing person, yeah.
yeah. I don't know.
It'd be interesting to see if the new sheriff, whoever it might be, we can have a different relationship.
Would be very
It
nice.
would be fantastic.
Yeah,
Yes.
I think a lot of people wish for that.
Yeah.
We'll see. I've got a gaggle of them running, I don't know, how to sort it all out, but,
Well, I don't have to vote on it, I have to vote on other things.
yeah.
It's inherent.
Okay, any other unfinished business? I don't know of any. And we'll finalize, we'll meet after this and put the finishing touch on the budget and get that approved. We already talked about the lots. One other thing that we had started and we're sort of in limbo on right now. And that's the issue of people parking long-term in the right-of-way.
Oh,
And we've got a person over on my side of the thing over there on Harbor and Ships Way that's got a 35-foot go-fast boat on a big 3-axle trailer. And he's literally parked that far from the street. And it takes up, it's over 35 feet long, probably 40 feet with the trailer. And it partially blocks line of sight to his neighbor. It's parked on the right-of-way adjacent to his mother's lot. And there's actually room on the lot to move it. Well, we've sent him 2 letters, and he's done nothing. And I've actually talked to his mother to try to get him to call me, and he hadn't done it. But then, when we were getting ready to, take the next big step and send him a certified letter, and threatened to tow it, and then I got to look, and I realized we don't have anything that prohibits people from parking on the right-of-way.
But you said it blocks line of sight.
Well,
You use
that's a
safety
that's a
on that.
potential issue.
Yeah, you use safety.
But the
Otherwise,
sheriff won't, they won't enforce it.
otherwise, I totally agree with you. We have no teeth when it comes to parking.
Right.
Parking is allowed on the right of way, and what's the difference between 1 hour and 1 year?
Well, I know, and so it's, other than just courtesy and common sense and, you know, and
Politeness.
we have a lot of that missing
Mhm.
from some people.
Yeah.
Unfortunately.
So, we were gonna, I think it's still worth asking Amber if she's aware of any, you know, any other teeth we could use to,
I think that's a good idea, because I'm sure they probably deal with that in other places too, so.
yeah.
Well, and I had drafted an email, which I'm holding on to Amber, and I wanted to ask about legality or whatever of my sending that claims document. So I was going to ask about this, do you want me to go
Well,
ahead
yeah,
and do that?
let's ask, and,
Can we,
she's got all our documents, she's seen, you
Right.
know, what we have, and, they're just, I mean, I thought surely we had something, but we don't.
I
You know,
think just a policy.
Like, there's something in our policy manual, but that's not, you know, that's not something that's holding on the community, that's for our, you know, basically our use. So,
Well, but I wanted to ask her also, can the sheriff's department be persuaded, I don't know the right word, not coerced, it's, you know, to enforce the law? They've always acted as though these are private roads, and these are not private.
What's,
These
but
are
if-
county
but
roads.
what's the
They're
private
privately
law?
maintained.
there's,
Well, this was when he was parking on the pavement,
well, yeah, that's
and now he's
different.
not.
yeah,
But I mean, there have been other instances where, you know, on Holly Way, it's a little circle, a little teeny circle off Delaware, I think. And years ago now, the guy that has the big barbecue truck was parked out there with his big rig. The post office person couldn't even get into that little circle and deliver.
that's an issue.
And they made,
Yeah.
the post
Right.
office made all of those people bring their post offices out onto, I think it's Delaware. At the time, there was construction going on, I mean, and the sheriff's office came and did, one of them finally did issue a warning to this man, and he moved the whole rig. And the sheriff's deputy said, now if he moves it back out, you let me know and I'll write a ticket. A month later, it was back out, I happened to get the same exact deputy. He wouldn't write him a ticket. There's no way you could get an ambulance in there, or a fire truck. It's,
Yeah.
and-
I know.
So what happens if somebody dies as a result of that? Are we liable for that? Or is
I
it?
don't see how we are, no.
Well, in that case, we've already,
Yeah,
we've
done our
done,
due
we've
diligence
done our,
trying
we've
to.
told them to move and all of that.
Now, if I ignored completely somebody saying that this was going on, said, oh, well, tough, that's the way it is in Rome Point, then I could see maybe we could be held
Yeah,
liable.
no, I think we have to notify people. Yeah, I'm curious, this guy with the boat. If somebody hits that boat with
I
a
even-
wood
I
truck or
included that in my
something.
last letter.
Okay, in the last letter, we said,
So-
your boat is so close to the road that if we have a big snow, we can't guarantee you that the snowplow is not gonna take out the side of your trailer and boat.
Yeah,
That's a good way to put it.
Yeah.
Didn't phase him a bit.
Oh my goodness.
He's playing, people play power games, but also, you said he has an alternative, his mother's lot, he could just put it on it right there?
Yeah, it's actually parked in the right of way in front of that lot. And there's ample room in that lot to just back the trailer in, you know.
He's just doing it, he's intentionally trying to see how, he's trying to
Just,
speak
yeah,
out.
I mean, he's just,
And he has neighbors and
It's
just.
easier.
well, he did, for a while, he just decided he'd park it in the street
Yeah.
in front of his neighbor's place, and they finally got him, I guess the sheriff did come and.
Sheriff
Sure, the
came
neighbors-
and made him move it to
Made him
back
move
to
it.
This guy probably, yeah, he probably hates everybody.
But the only,
He didn't meet me yet, when he meets me, he'll hate me too.
the only recourse is whether there's any teeth in the fact that it blocks line of sight, or whether there's any teeth in the fact that we own the right of way, and
Right.
could we use a trespassing law?
Seems like we could.
But that's the only ones I can think of, unless we publish something, you know, in the
But what
covenant.
is he trespassing on if he's on, if he's
It's
on
on
the
our
right of the way?
property.
But if it's at the right of way, I think Tony said earlier that.
People can bark.
Well, and we let people, then that's a little bit of
Well,
the problem.
that's
People
part.
park all over this community in the
Yeah.
right of way. So now we're gonna tell this guy he
Right.
can't, but only based on the fact that he blocks the line of
Yeah.
And
sight.
he's just, yeah, it's a monstrosity sitting out.
That's about the only way you can do it. I mean, it's, you know, courtesy and common sense would say, We don't mind people, you know, if they're doing construction, or if they're doing their garden, or whatever, parking in the right of way, overnight, or next day, or whatever. Nobody's gonna hassle at it.
This is permanent. This is permanent.
This boat's been there over a year, has not moved.
Wow.
So you want to
Too
redraft?
too bad we're not in
or
South
just
Philly.
put something
Could
together?
get fired.
You don't want to redraft the letter, just want to.
Now, let's see if she has any opinion on whether we have any way to try to,
So I don't need to ask her though anymore about the vacant lot and people paying their fees. We just determined that
I think
that's
we've determined
required.
that
Okay.
it's required.
I do have a question about the covenants. If someone wants to put a fence on their property line, not the front yard, but in their side yard, and the next door neighbor says, I don't want you to do that because if you do that, it blocks me from seeing the water.
We just
Tough,
went,
We just went through that.
just went through that.
House on Overlook, and I zoomed in on the meeting, and the people that wanted to put that fence, if this is the one we're talking about,
It's on Overlook, is that your
it's on
son?
Overlook. They were allowed to do on their property what
What they do?
they are legally allowed to do.
I thought you couldn't put up a structure that would block a view. I mean, you could have like a stockade fence. I thought.
Those are our guidelines.
Those are
Oh,
guidelines.
Once again, the county's not going to enforce our
okay,
guidelines. And I had actually a phone call after the Zoom meeting ended, and one of the people that was against this fence, she was not happy with us. And I just kept repeating what the appeals board had said, was that a person is allowed to do on their property what is legal. And it is legal for them to have that fence.
So our covenants don't have a restriction as to height of the fence?
I don't think it's even addressed in the covenants, it's in the guidelines. And that's
Okay.
just-
Yeah, there's nothing
There
in
is
the
something
covenants
about it, I think,
Is there
it's a
something?
cyclone fence, or, you know, those.
Well, it talks about types of
Yeah,
fences.
because
Yeah.
like Dr. Slung,
Yeah,
you know,
yeah,
on
yeah,
our
I
property,
remember
he's
that.
got the metal fence, and then at a certain distance, it becomes a cyclone fence. Or, you know, what do you call it, chain link, chain
Yeah,
link.
that's not the same as a cyclone. A cyclone is where you have those barbed wire.
Oh, no, no.
No.
Well,
Yeah, chain link.
our guidelines basically say,
Yeah.
what you put in front of the house,
Mhm.
between the
The
main part of the house and the street,
Mhm.
is supposed to be semi-attractive.
Mhm.
You know,
Yeah.
It's supposed to
Right.
be a nice stockade type fence or something like that. Can't be chicken wire or chain link
Right.
or whatever.
But we
Okay.
can put something that's appropriate and
Yes.
at the rate.
So what,
Back.
these
Right.
people,
Back.
the people on Overlook actually complied with our
Mhm.
guidelines. They had a nice wooden fence, that was only in front of, actually only in front of the drive area,
Mhm.
had a gate in it.
Mhm.
And then it went down the side, just to the back of the house.
Mhm.
Then they had they wanted to fence down to within about, 30 feet of the water line.
Something like that.
So you
On
need
their property.
something you can see
They wanted to
through.
fence down to that, but it was a wrought iron rail fence, 4.5 feet high. So you have, well, our guidelines talk about transparency, they talk about like 75% transparency if it's between you and your neighbors in the water, in order to not block the view.
Mhm.
Well, that's exactly what they had.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't think their neighbors had a leg to stand on.
Mhm.
They do that.
And I told, like Rhea tried to tell them, improve your case, take a picture of the kind of fence you're
And
talking
she did
about.
do that.
Hmm, did she do that? Okay.
She did do that, that was a good.
And that probably helped.
So is this a house that's 2 houses down from me?
Yeah, on the other side of, where you go down and make a right off of Loretta, and then you
Yeah.
come back in and kind of curve around a little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah. it's
Yeah.
that one.
It's in that cul-de-sac.
Yeah,
right there.
that
Yeah.
area, yes.
Right. Well, that's still going around.
Oh, is it really? That woman was so upset with me that day.
She's
that-
still upset.
And I explained to her, and I started to finish what I was saying. She said to me, all right, you've had a turn to talk, now it's my turn. And I just said, yes, ma'am, go ahead.
Mhm.
Well,
You know.
and the other factor there is that's a very steep slope down to the water.
Yeah.
So that fence is going down. I mean, it's not like it's up here
Yeah,
at eye level.
it's not,
Mhm.
yeah, 15 feet high,
Right.
yeah.
Yeah, so, I don't think they had
No. That same day, I went ahead and sat in because there was also a appeals meeting for that big shed on Ottawa. Remember, they didn't have the right permit, and it's too close to the boundary? That had to be continued. And I just sat in because I wanted to.
Is there
I
something
have this
about 5
problem.
feet?
I have
Yeah,
a
it is
neighbor
5
that has
feet, and
this
they're like 2.5
edge,
feet.
Well, how does,
They're
that
like
is just
2.5
blocking
feet.
part of my
people
view
have
of the
fences
bay.
that are like
I
6
think
inches
can I
apart?
protest
They
that?
probably did.
Okay, is that what it is?
Get some, hire some goats to go with your apples and your
It's only
oranges.
5 feet from the side, I think it's 5 feet.
And it would be the same with
And you
your
can carve
driveway?
off the side
5
of your
feet from
property.
the
and
edge
just
of
cut
the-
That
part
I'm not
off.
sure of.
Makes sense though.
It would make sense, it would make sense, yeah, it would. So,
I just,
That's true, but it would not.
but those neighbors
We
got
got
very
the-
upset.
My
And I
house,
had another
there's a
irate
fence,
phone
I
call.
didn't even think about it, James
No,
fence,
no,
James
I
Lynn,
like
or
it.
whatever.
I
ours
like
is.
it. But not-
Shoot, I only
don't wanna
have,
keep it just so
like
it's
from
found-
here to there,
not a-
from my house to where her fence is. I
She
walked
might be-
through this, it might even, yeah, it's probably like that wide. I'm thinking, that's not even 5 feet probably.
She's a long
And I need to put a
property
fence back
owner,
there, so
and
I'm worried about that.
I'm guessing that years and years ago, permitting was really loose.
Oh, well, also when she put her fence up, my house wasn't there.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah,
That-
yeah.
And they probably said, here's your border, we'll go right to the point. I think
Yeah.
that might be what they did, because it's, but I need to put a fence up to keep my dogs from trying to kill everybody else's dogs. And
And
I need, and I realized, geez, this is gonna be a problem here. The guy came by and he says, well, this fence here is on your property, I think, because your house is right there. I said, can you go right up it? And he goes, really? I said, she's too old already.
Yeah, well, she's,
Jane's
I haven't seen her
91,
for
she's
quite a
not gonna
while,
hurt me.
so, yeah, yeah.
No, she's holding her own.
Yeah, her yard is beautiful.
My God, the other one, Carolyn Evil.
Oh,
Is
yeah.
Oh,
85, is
Oh.
85.
Is she 85? Yeah, she comes in
Wow.
every so often.
Some of these people just, you know, they keep going. I mean, it's
Yeah.
impressive. Yeah.
Well, okay, anything else? New business tonight?
Sorry.
Okay, so the next meeting,
June 7th is the next, is the first
Yeah.
Tuesday, but
yeah, okay.
What's the next
So-
Tuesday?
the 14th.
don't we have to have it early because of the general membership meeting?
That's, the meeting's gonna be on what, the
28th?
28th?
Yeah.
So, well, the choices are, we could have it on Thursday the 2nd,
Mhm.
we could have it on Tuesday the 7th and Tony will run it, or we can have it on Tuesday the 14th.
I may not be around this.
Maria's got a, do you have a problem with timing?
I know.
Maria, do you have a problem?
Well, Lauren's
with
wedding
timing?
is the 28th.
Oh.
And I've still got family in for the next week and a half. But I've got other meetings, hold on.
Yeah,
Her
our
daughter.
daughter getting married.
Oh,
May 20th.
May 28th.
Oh, May 20th.
May.
Nothing-
Yeah, I was gonna say, the 28th, that's when we're having our general meeting.
And
Yeah.
you scheduled.
Are we
it.
invited?
Sure. You paying for
I
it?
gotta go to the wedding.
You paying for it?
We'll contribute.
All right, that works. So June. Oh, I'm sorry. The 9th of June would work for me. It's a
That's a
Thursday.
Thursday.
That's a Thursday,
My
that's,
company leaves the 8th.
okay, so they're here until the 8th,
Yes.
so the 2nd wouldn't be good for you.
What, and nor the
Okay.
7th, or the 7th.
And the
either.
7th.
Or the
wouldn't either.
7th. Mm-mm.
Okay, so
The 14th?
I won't be here the 9th. If
Sorry.
we're gonna go to the 9th, we might as well go to the 14th.
Oh, okay.
That's still 2 weeks ahead of that.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah, my question is, does that give you enough time before the general membership meeting?
Yeah.
Don't you have to send something out to everybody?
Well, the newsletter, but that's gonna be taken care of with the approval of the budget. Because then once the budget's approved, I'll put the shortened version of it into the newsletter.
Okay, well,
And that has to be delivered 15 days prior to the meeting,
Okay,
so it's like the 13th or something.
okay, well, as long as you can do it, that's.
So my family can help me pull the newsletter.
Have I got a
But I'll-
surprise for all you
I
guys?
know, right,
So,
Colby? Yes.
so you need,
Um,
if you need input for news.
Yes, yes, I do, I should have reminded you. So I would like to have it yesterday, no, I'm just kidding.
So the meeting is the
Yeah,
14th?
that'll work.
Did we decide on the 14th?
And that's a Thursday,
It's
so.
a- it's a Tuesday.
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 It's a Tuesday.
So it's gonna be the 14th.
And I'll be checking email and so on from home, and I can even send that newsletter out from home, because it goes through the website to most people. And, like I said, we have a folding for it. They'll love it.
Yeah.
Never coming to see her again.
Do you just fold it and staple it?
Fold it, tape it,
Tape, okay.
yeah, and label it. There's only like there's less than 400 now that go by mail, like 380 or
That's so
something.
long.
Oh, it used to be like a full,
All of them.
so, anyway. So thanks
Okay.
for pushing up on that.
We got our next meeting.
May 7th?
What happened to me, Sarah?
Oh, that's it.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's right.
yeah.
The cleanup.
Clean up.
Oh, yeah.
That's this Saturday.
Mhm.
Fun
This
times,
Saturday.
8 to 2.
I will
Oh,
try
is
to
that where we
make
put
it.
the dumpsters there? So move my car.
I would move my car. if I
Okay,
could.
don't park my boat
Do
there.
not park your boat there,
Okay,
or in the street.
So this Saturday's that day.
This Saturday from 8 until 2.
Okay.
And bring work gloves if you're gonna
Yeah.
help, because those are, it helps. Thanks, John, I forgot about
I'm sorry I can't make it.
that. I don't think you will.
Or sign?
I'm just kidding you.
Line, hands on fire.
We'll get you other next time.
Not falling for that.
Yeah, I'm not sure I can make it this year either. I
Uh-oh.
won't know until, I'm not,
I'll be there.
Thank you, Bonnie.
I'll be there. With my
Thank you,
work-
you're out of town.
with
I
my
think I
work
will for at least part of it.
All right, all right.
well, if I can make it, I'll be there for the whole thing. If not, then I won't.
Yeah. Well, you guys are volunteers, I mean, you know, that's.
It's supposed to rain.
I
Yeah,
saw,
yeah.
we did it in the rain one year.
Oh,
Remember,
yeah, I
we
remember
put a
that.
shed here.
I remember, yeah, we were.
So
Run
all-
over and help.
This Saturday, are we putting signs up as you come in?
No, we don't do that anymore. Years ago they did, but that draws people from CRE.
Yeah.
So what they do is they come in here and they'll see the dumpsters
Yeah.
and we can kind of be in a.
Yeah, well, and I sent,
Yeah,
I
but
sent an email out to everybody.
Mhm.
It didn't make it into the newsletter. Well, I haven't sent the newsletter yet, but
Yeah, it won't be.
it won't, yeah. I couldn't get it confirmed in time.
Yeah, but the email said like what things you can bring and what things you
Right,
don't.
right,
Yeah, it was pretty
yeah.
clear.
Yeah,
Yeah.
hopefully.
I mean, now we should probably like have that there too.
You can
because
do whatever you want,
Oh,
I'll
I
still
take
bring
it to the
everything.
side,
Yeah.
dumpster, and then we put signs out on the dumpster saying.
Yeah, you do everything you can, yeah.
Yeah, and it's still, and it's still.
Yeah, so people bring it to.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Well, that board's not construction material.
Well, a board is one of them.
Yeah, but
It's
I
gonna
mean,
rip
you
the
know,
deck off the
yeah.
back of your house.
Yeah.
and put it there.
My favorite's a toilet, that's construction.
Actually, I guess we would take it.
Yes, we would need it.
Yeah.
We take toilets?
Technically, it would be construction material.
It is.
Well,
Here
The
it
dump
is.
charges you to take a
Oh, do they?
toilet. Yeah, they
Okay.
took
Take
it.
what?
Yeah.
I thought that was funny.
Toilet?
Construction, hell no. This came with the house.
Well, I mean,
I
it's
don't
just
know.
like, if you started cleaning your sink, when you did your kitchen.
You're right, yeah.
I
Like
I
cabinets or
understand what
something.
he's saying, I understand what Mike is saying, when you.
It was
Big
fun.
stuff, and dump it free,
Right,
but if it's a toilet, you gotta pay.
right.
Yeah, hey, that's,
I don't know.
Okay, anything else before we go into executive
You need
session?
a motion to do this.
I make a motion that we go into executive session.
I'll second it.
Yeah.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Those who have no idea what you're talking